because they wanted me to keep my mouth shut. And guess who ended up changing my life? It was not one person. It was several people in the community. It was the fruit truck man that used to sell fruit on the side of it. He said, "You better than this. You can get out of here. You could do something different." And I was like, "No, man, ain't nobody going nowhere. I ain't seen nobody leave up out of here." He was like, "But you can." It was the Amoco gas station attendant that was, "I used to see you going to school all these years. You just dropped out. Why don't you go back to school?" I would try to hide because I didn't want to go to school after that. I want to try to hide because the gang members are all in the school. You can't even learn because they're throwing desks. It's gang fights. You have to, you barely surviving just going to school. But people began to tell me that I could do better. It was a couple from somewhere in the suburbs that came to the inner city and gave kids a trip to a dude ranch in the suburbs of Chicago. And we were on these little horses in this wagon. I remember going out there because I wanted to go on this trip. And it was quiet. Quiet. We had so much fun out there. It was beautiful sunsets. And people talk about gang prevention. That's gang prevention because if you've never seen anything different, you don't know that it's a different world out there. I thought everybody lived the way that I lived. I thought that everybody got beat. That's what I thought. But it was the community members, some couple who had a farm that brought out some inner city kids out there just to take some for 2 or 3 days. Changed my life because I got a chance to see outside, the picture outside of its frame. Because when I'm talking about a change agent, it doesn't matter where you are, you can be a change agent. It's the little things that matter. If you're making cookies for your kids, you make some free extra cookies and bring your daughter or your son's friend with you, you just made a difference. Because it's just like the Verizon commercial. That young person is connected to 100 other people. And on Facebook, oh my goodness, their friends could be in the next city, the next state, or the next continent. So that one little quote that you're using is going all the way across the world and back. And you may be missing some words, but it's coming back. You can be that change. You don't have to be the president of the United States. You don't have to be the executive director of a nonprofit to make a difference. It starts with doing what you're passionate about. What are you passionate about? What's wrong with the world? What's the biggest problem facing the world today? And ask yourself, what can you do to change it? What can you do where you are to change it? And that's called leadership, leading where you are. And I never thought that I could get past that. So one day I came to get my prom tickets because it was the end of the year. This bus driver would pick up my work from school every day. And my teacher, I thought, loved me so much. She was so nice, but she became mean one day. She said, "You joined the gang because you wanted to, and I'm not changing the assignment. You need to learn to write with your left hand." I said, "What?" She said, "No, you can write with your left hand." I said, "No, I can't." She said, "You're ambidextrous because you can draw." I said, "No, my name's Kitara." Ignorance is expensive, you all. I thought she was calling me another name. Ambidextrous, that sounds like something. She explained to me what it meant. It meant I could write with both hands. And I don't know if her logic was all true, but she was so convincing, I believed it. So I learned, I used my left hand, and it took me twice as long to get my work done. I will get my work done. The bus driver, the CTA bus driver, Chicago Transit Authority driver, will take my work to the teachers every night and pick it up. The teachers would be at the corner giving the bus driver my work so I could graduate. I didn't graduate in an honors division where I started, but I graduated right underneath. I graduated from school, learning the right way because people held me accountable. Sometimes we tell our kids today, "You're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner." No, you're not. There's no 99 plays. I'm glad you gave a good effort, but you have to do, in order to be your best, you have to do your best. And half doing it is not going to cut it. But we don't tell our kids that. I'm surprised. I ended up starting a nonprofit in Spokane, and I'm not very nice. If kids do anything wrong, they call somebody by the wrong, the black girl over there or the white girl over there, I make them do 10 push-ups, and all the staff would do push-ups with them. And then they would read the requirements of being inside of that center. Do you know those kids love me? Love me. When I say be somewhere at 7 o'clock, they don't They're there at 7 o'clock or some beforehand. They're texting me, where you at? We're here. Because I hold them accountable to a standard, and if they don't come on time, I leave them. I ain't waiting on them. Because the world is not going to wait on them. Because the minute they get 18, the things change. But we just wait, it's okay, it's okay. No, I'm not doing that. Because in order to be a change agent, you have to be able to take a risk. You have to be able to say what needs to be said. And I'm telling you, telling the truth never goes out of style. And doing the right thing never goes out of style. But sometimes we're just afraid because we're not the president or we're not the leader of this organization. And sometimes we just won't touch it because that's not our area. My nonprofit, our agency only does this. And we can't work with them over there because they do that. But I'll take your brochures and I'll pass them out and sit them right on their desk and never give it to the people that really need it. Why? Some of you sitting here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, we're in a collaboration. We wrote a grant together, but the only collaboration is really on paper. Nobody ever touched hand and rubbed elbows together. Nobody wants to create an alliance because they feel like they're going to fall off the top and go, well, I won't be important if I'm not the top. We can't do things by ourselves. We need each other to survive. And strength is in numbers. So when your agency gets this little piece of grant, because they're changing things now, even with grants, the funding is gone now. It's forcing people to make true collaborations. I will tell you the different people in the community that made a difference in my life. And it's interesting because now, how many young people have I talked to today? Over 55,000 high school and middle school students. Start a nonprofit that served 300 teens a month that ended up being in the Northtown Mall. And I was a mother of 4 that my whole family was surviving off of $46.15 a week. Thank God for Costco. I can tell you my shopping list every week. Pack of hot dogs, some Cheez-Its, some bread. But there's people that live like that, but I went to the plaza in Spokane because the city blamed the school district. The school district blamed the city. But all the kids were down at the plaza in Spokane. 500 kids every afternoon in a plaza bus station with nowhere to go, with pedophiles, people who didn't care, just down there and just being corrupted to the point they said, well, why do we have such a high dropout rate? For real? You really want to know the answer to that? Because instead of doing something, we blame each other. Instead of holding hands and somebody actually doing the work, we read about it 75 times. Can we adopt the Nike slogan and just do it? It's interesting because I never could fathom graduating from high school, but I stand before you with a master's degree. That's something I never fathomed having. You're looking at a woman that debated at the United Nations. How did I debate at the United Nations? You're looking at a woman who started with 500 kids in the city of Spokane and had never been in Spokane before. And people told me, and I'm telling you, there's not a lot of people that look like me in Spokane. And people said, well, Kitara, how are you going to do this? I said, I'm going to make a difference. I said, I'm going to run for school board because this is ridiculous. And they said, you can't run for school board as a black woman? Why am I listening to people tell me? I learned early on. They told me I couldn't run either. But I was jumping fences. I don't let people tell me what I can't do. So many times an apostrophe T stands between you and your destiny. Can't, shouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't. I had to eliminate some naysayers in order to be a change agent. I stand before you as a woman who ran for office with no money. I know some people like, this girl is crazy. I didn't have any signs, didn't do a campaign kickoff and received 30% of the vote. And the woman who won, she won with 20,000 votes. I think I had about 15,000 or so of the votes. Imagine if I campaigned, knocked on some doors. You know what I did? I told the kids, if I've done anything for you, tell your parents to vote smart, vote McClure. People couldn't even believe. They said, how did you do that? I didn't. Because I believe that I can learn from anybody. I don't care what race they are. I don't care what age they are. I feel that I can learn. And when you're open and willing to learn from every person that you encounter, things start changing for you. Because somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. Interesting how that worked out. I stand before you as a woman that said, I'm going to write my book. You're not an English major. I'm going to write Well, I wrote it. They said, well, I can't find a publisher. I published myself. You're talking about a woman who came to Spokane that had nothing. A job didn't even exist. I was working part-time as a special projects consultant because they couldn't figure out what exactly I did. I think it was just ADHD control. And they said, well, we don't know what you do, but we'd love to have you at the college. So I started writing up what needed to happen at the place as I was getting my degree. And they said, we need a multicultural director. There hadn't been a multicultural director in the history of the community colleges of Spokane. Sometimes you can't wait on anybody to do anything. You have to take action and show people what they need. This is what you need. It's called exercise and initiative. I can't wait on people. If I wait on a publisher, I would never have a book. Times have changed. You can publish things on your own now that looks just as nice as anybody else's stuff. Except I get $7 profit and other people get $1 off each book. Think about that. It's just about thinking outside of the box. I applied for federal grants, but since our nonprofit was so small and we were volunteer-based, the funding will go to bigger agencies. But what did I do? I didn't quit. I went to Cricket Wireless. I said, hi, I noticed that your cell phone is prepaid. A lot of the low-income kids that I work with, they use cell phones, they use the Cricket phones. And so she begins to have a dialogue with me. She said, well, you know what? We started to notice that even though people don't pay their bills, they charge their cell phones and they hold them on them and they carry them with them even though they hadn't paid their bill. I said, really? I said, well, I'm trying to reach out to these kids. Can we do something? Can we give out some free cell phones? And she said, sure. We can even give out 3 months of free service. It's all in the ask, people. I said, well, wait a minute. I don't just want to take something from you. I want to help you. Can we use your program? Can you teach these kids how to accept payments or make cool t-shirts with positive slogans with the Cricket logo and you all get credit, for this and they pass out these flyers? Can we make this part of a math program to help them count? And can we make it like a club? They said, that's a great idea. Because I'm not just telling them what they can do for me to help these kids. I'm also helping them. So you know what they said? They said, well, when we did this, we started marketing them, sending them messages to pay their bill. But wait a minute. I have an idea. Can you come up with 100 characters? They would send a 100-character text message to everybody in a region with a Cricket Wireless cell phone. Parents and children, that Youth Declare Yourself Day was happening, and young people could display their talent downtown Spokane. 750 kids showed up. Parents were calling me, well, my daughter sings, my daughter does this. And then they were able to hear about our agency and volunteer. I got more volunteers. And the word started spreading about this program that was volunteer-based and it was finally free for kids. I started tapping into people who were in a community that worked full-time and said, can you do 1 hour or 2 hours? Can you do a workshop? I told the kids in order to get the free recording studio time, they had to attend 8 workshops a month. The workshops had to be age plus 10 minutes because kids have those out-of-body experiences. So no workshop was over 28 minutes. And if you had a longer workshop, it would take you about 4 or 5 weeks to finish it because that built relationships with these kids. It's all about thinking outside the box. In order to be a change agent, you have to implement change. Things have to be a little bit different. You have to think outside the box. I went to the pizza place. What was this? Little Caesars Pizza. I said, I can't afford to feed these kids after school. Can we get some pizzas? He said, sure. I said, well, what can we do for you? I see you have people out here shaking. With the box, the Little Caesars thing. I said, can these kids shake a board? You give us free pizza. We're going to come early. We're going to end our program early, and we're going to shake a board for you. Blew their minds. These kids are in the world, all down the street, shaking for these little signs. So then he said, I like this because it worked. And he said, you know what? Any of the low-income kids that don't have any food, he told them they can come to Little Caesars anytime, shake a board for an hour, and he'll give them a pizza. Being a change agent. Thinking outside the box, not just what a person can give you, an organization can give you, but what you can do for them. Because it shows them that everybody, it's a 360 circle that you're helping each other. And we're helping our community. That way the kids don't have to go out there lording and stealing stuff and breaking into stuff. Begging all of their constituents and customers for change because they know that if they go out here and work for this, they're going to get a pizza. And you know what? One of the students did it so well, he ended up, apparently there's a shakerboard national competition in Vegas, and he put his iPod in and started spinning up, throwing in the air. He ended up winning 2nd place nationally in the shakerboarding contest, all from something that would have potentially been degrading. Being a change and being the best. I started taking the good, leaving the bad, and teaching others what I knew. And they will follow, and they supported that idea. I started getting like-minded organizations that in the community that were doing the similar things, and I would sit at the table, but because I was young, they wouldn't listen. But guess what happened? Kids from every school started talking about the program, more and more people, to the point that the Northtown Mall ended up providing us a space of 2,000 square feet. That we were able to move out of the plaza into the mall, the actual city mall, which was the #1 team hangout in Spokane. All from not quitting and being dedicated no matter what anybody said. I kept going. I was discouraged at some times and took some late nights at driving all those kids home or taking a bus with everybody, to the point that the city bus started giving us free bad passes and a map to get to the colleges and university tours. And that word of mouth kept spreading till I met Vicki Kennedy last fall and won the Golden Tennis Shoe Award that only 3 people in the state of Washington win a year. It started from one mother who found another mother that wanted to care for the kids. And we went in the plaza and rolled up our sleeves and started working with these kids until they were dance teams and step teams. To the theater downtown, the Bing Crosby did promos for us, and these kids would showcase their talents. And all it took was this. And the kids were way smarter than people anticipated them to be. They said, "Where'd y'all get this great website?" I'm like, he did. It looked pretty good. It looked like we paid $10,000 for a website, but one of the young people just knew how to get the logo. One of the kids created, so every time he saw that logo somewhere on a t-shirt, he was proud and told other people about it. Being a change agent, it doesn't matter where you're located, it doesn't matter the title. And what happened with that multicultural director position? It's funny. I ended up getting hired as the multicultural director at SCC. All of a sudden, Eastern Washington University needed a multicultural director. All of a sudden, Gonzaga University realized they needed a multicultural director. All of a sudden, Spokane Falls said, "You know what, we might need a director too," but they didn't. But being a change agent started with doing something that had never been done. It hadn't been invented. Just wrote it up and didn't quit and kept going. I guess they figured this girl is obviously not going anywhere. She won't shut up. She comes to every community meeting. I'm telling you, sometimes I would see the mayor 3-4 times a week. I was like, you know what, we should get on a shuttle bus. I wasn't afraid to walk up to the superintendent and tell him what the issues were and to come and see their own kids. Because when it's not about you, because sometimes people make the mistake, they'll come to a community event, "I've been in this community for 17 years and I've seen this, that, and the other." You have to be judgment-free and solution-focused. Nobody, okay, you had a bad experience. Okay, so what's the solution? You can't assume that people already know the solution. You have to come with it. You have to research both sides. All of a sudden, I end up looking up, and then I get an award I'm featured in the Catalyst magazine as one of the top 20 business professionals under 40 in the Northwest. I find myself flying all across the country, the keynote speaker for the State Attorney General's Professional Staff Conference. Next thing I know, the governor is sending me letters to be on her advisory councils. I'm still that mother of 4 boys, but right now they're 16, 11, 10, and 7. And don't ask me how I did all of this while getting a master's degree and a bachelor's degree and working full time. And it's funny because I will go to community events, and it still happens sometimes in new communities. They look at me like, "She's so young, what can she do? What kind of experience can she have? You cannot judge a book by its cover. What do they want me to do? Juggle dishes blindfolded on a unicycle?" Don't discount your young people. And so I want to leave you all with 10 things that's helped me, that I realized, to be a change agent. The first thing is find out what you feel is wrong with your community or the world around you, and ask yourself, what can I do to change it? Doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. You don't have to tackle the whole thing, but just start somewhere. Find like-minded people. Instead of 500 different nonprofit agencies, what happens when you come together and create an alliance? with a united voice to share resources and best practices. That way, this organization doesn't have to make a mistake because you have the form. You created it. You found it before they even started. Research best practices, successes, and failures of communities and their leaders in your field. You don't have to make the same mistake that they made. It's funny how the internet works. If you see a trend in LA or California, oh, you better know that it'll be in Spokane or in Moscow in about 5 years or so. So why not research what they did and how they combated that? How do you protect your community from those trends coming here? You have to know what's going on. You can't, well, we just live here and that doesn't happen here. And then when it comes, it's like, now I have to spend $20,000, $30,000 trying to be, reactive instead of proactive. Because if you came together beforehand, before there was a crisis, before there was an incident, Spokane just went through it. Bomb threat at the MLK March. Now everybody's trying to march. Everybody get together. We're going to stand against hate. Last weekend, I'm like, I'm asleep. I have kids. I need some rest. But then reach out to everybody else. They tried to do it on their own, so only 200 and some people came down. I'm sure it's a lot of citizens in Spokane. It's thousands that show up for the MLK walk. But when you try to do things alone and not create a consortium or an alliance, everybody could have sent out to everybody that they knew. That next city, next state, next continent, and they could have had a bigger crowd. But it looked like the community really didn't support that cause because they were ineffective in their mechanism of delivery. We have to work together, people. The other thing is find a mentor. Just because you're an agency doesn't mean that you can't find a mentor. Find somebody that's successful that's been there and done that. I don't care if they're younger than you. Hey, what are some of the trends over here? Because you have to, people say, I made a brochure. But if you're reaching the next generation, they don't read brochures. You have to reach people where they are. We have to be careful with the way that we communicate and make sure that it's effective. And we're not spending countless of dollars creating. You can make a postcard just like who, what, when, where, why. Less is more. This is where we are, and this is where you can find us. The other thing is for remove naysayers as close friends. Oh, that's not going to happen. You guys can't create an alliance or a consortium of people coming together to make a company. It never works out. 15 years ago, they tried to do this over here in this city. Well, in Coeur d'Alene, they tried to do this. Well, remove those people as close friends because sometimes it comes from the closest people to you. It could be your spouse. I remember my ex-husband told me, he said, you really think that a nonprofit called Ponytails is really going to make it? Yeah, he wasn't saying that when he was volunteering in it, when he was when the mayor is coming over there with the Chase Youth Award for the center. Interesting. You have to remove those naysayers as close friends because the same way somebody can tell you something negative, can't they tell you that you can do it? This is going to work? It can work if you believe it and you work on it. The other thing is express continual belief in your dream. If it's creating an alliance or a consortium, if it's creating a city, Moscow is going to be the highlight of the nation. People will model our behavior in the way we come together for human rights and advocacy. They will come to see how we combat negative stereotypes. They will see how we create a place that is inclusive for all citizens in our community to feel welcome and safe. And if you know what that sounds like, you come up with a 1 or 2 page sentence in your head, and whenever you meet somebody, my name is such and such, and I'm from Moscow, Iowa. Have you heard of that? Do you know that we have the best model of human rights and advocacy inside of the nation? People actually use our models. It's funny when you say things like that, people repeat exactly what you said. And tell it, I'm serious. I've talked to people and told them something about my nonprofit, and it's funny when I heard them talk about it later, I was like, I told them that, but it's okay, thank you. They will repeat what you say, so be careful what you say. Oh, I don't want to go to this meeting, because when somebody else wants to come to your meeting, they're not going to go because they heard what you said. Oh, it's so disorganized. Well, organize it. Don't be the person that's talking all the negative stuff. Do something about it. 6, remember it will always cost more than you have to give, and it will always take longer than you expected. I expected everybody to jump behind my nonprofit. I mean, it's for kids, and we're doing the right thing, and I have experience, and I've been there. It took 5 years to get that thing off the ground and really move it at the point they had momentum across the state and being recognized at the state level. And we were still volunteer-based and very small. Because when the state attorney general heard about it, what did he do? He said, I want you to talk about this model at the regional meetings across the state and how they can do the same. So I found myself in Yakima, Everett, Vancouver, and in my own city, Spokane. And it's interesting how I've been featured in Seattle and they have to send it to Spokane because sometimes your own city won't even get behind you. Interesting, but you can recognize everywhere else. 7, never give up. Never give up. Sometimes I'm telling you some dark days. I was thinking about, I'm quitting, I'm not going to do this anymore. But then one kid would come to me with their parents and say, you changed my life. Kitara, I'm in college now. I look now, it's 60-something kids at SCC that are in college at SCC because of that program. And that's a higher success rate than most of the nonprofits that were in the community. So when the city of Spokane gave me the Chase Youth Award, the Breakfast of Champions, they gave it to us in the nonprofit category. It was because of those type of results. 80 kids at SFCC, 3 at Eastern Washington University, and these were kids from the lowest income schools that people didn't believe that could ever make it somewhere. And I was thinking, what if I had quit when nobody funded us when we were in the plaza? Wow. 8, recognize that everyone is not going to like you or your organization, and be okay with that. You're going to have opposition. Okay, so what now what? Move on. You have to be okay with that. Everybody's not going to be like, yes, you're doing a great job. Sometimes people tell you you're doing a great job and they won't give you a dime. Keep up the good work. Like, I just need an hour of your time to volunteer. And 9, change is something that most people do not enjoy, so be prepared for opposition. Some people, it's always been this way. But this is a better way, but it's always been this way. And don't be afraid to start it over here. And the last thing is change happens one day at a time and one person at a time. So make every interaction count. Thank you all for listening. My name is Kitara McClure.
Well, for me especially, I hope everybody here, that was very, very moving. I'm somebody who recruited in the schools of Chicago. Chicago's not alone, and it is the center of the universe. It's a good place, but they have many, many, many different realities and ways of being. And we talked so much about people pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and this and that. And then we have such disparities in their educational facilities and those kinds of things. But it was highly inspirational. I hope that this is motivating you for this afternoon's work. So go off, time for the next set of workshops. Kitara, thank you so much.